Hey, welcome to Facts at 5. I'm Michael Clark. It is, what day is it? Thursday, May the 14th, 2020. And I'm here at the LTV studios in wonderful Waynescott, New York, with my lovely co-host, Morgan Vaughan. Say hello, Morgan.
Hello, Morgan.
And what's going on today?
Okay, well, everybody wants to know what we're doing, how we're reopening, what are we doing? So Steve Vaughan yesterday in the East Hampton Star said the good news from Monday. He said that there was a decline in new hospitalizations, a steady rate of new hospitalizations that is below two per 100,000 residents per day is one of the key criteria the county must meet before it can reopen. That benchmark was reached on Monday, and now the county must sustain it for 14 days, Mr. Vaughan said. May 25th is the earliest that we can meet the metric.
Right.
So the other big metric we have to meet of the 7 metrics is the contact tracers.
Yes.
So these are the people they have to hire, and they are short of the number we need per, I think it's 30 tracers for every 100,000 people in the population. They need a bunch of them.
A virtual army of investigators.
A virtual army. So we have either you can go to the Facebook page for the town of East Hampton or our Facebook page, which is LTVEH, and you can find the link for the application. And I couldn't put it at the end because it's one of those links that's like, 15 years long.
Right.
So you just have to go there, and you can link on to find out what you would need to be. And it is an at-home job. You need a phone, you need a computer, you need a couple other things. But it could be a really good, decent way to make some money, which, right now, especially. And they are looking for people who speak more than one language, et cetera. But that is another metric. It's also helping because that is another metric we need to meet in order to open.
It's funny, when I saw the metrics, I actually thought that was going to be the tough one because that's not something that we've done before.
The contact
tracing, yeah. I mean, and the way that it fans out, right? Think about even though we're secluded and quarantined, think about just going to the store or whatever, driving, getting gas, the people that you have to come in contact with,
right.
and for them to be able to try to trace that down. I don't know how that can be done, but I guess they got a plan.
They did it with HIV. I think that's the main one that they did it with. This is a little different.
Yeah.
Because, these are casual contacts. But I think that's the paradigm they're looking at.
Okay. And then, so something, I guess this is kind of blowing our own horn a little bit. And which we're very good at doing, because if we don't, then who do? Yeah. But there was an article that came out in Newsday, and the report was that many local governments are not allowing public comment during their online sessions. This is one of the things that we're really proud of. And Jason Nauer, as you know, Jason behind the glass, was instrumental in putting this together. Just on the fly, and it's the fact that if you go to our town board meetings and village board meetings, there is opportunity for public comment in a lot of different ways.
If you watch them virtually, you can call in.
Yes.
Right.
And not only that, you can. There's also a texting feature and things like that. And so Jason has basically covered. If one thing doesn't work, then the next thing comes on, and he's basically covered that. But only 70% of the state are not doing that.
Yeah.
And we're doing that, so that's something that we're real proud of, and something that the town and village boards are. Recognizing is really important, and I can't imagine that. In the open meetings law, that people aren't able to comment publicly on what's being discussed in their town, but apparently that's happening. The Coalition of Open Government found that 7 of 21 upstate county and city governments from Albany to Niagara Falls that were surveyed sought and only allowed public comment during their April online meetings. So only 7 out of 21 in the upstate area. The state open meetings law that requires most public discussions and actions to be made in public, but it doesn't require the public to get a chance to comment outside of less frequent public hearings, which are usually confined to a specific proposal or act. And the president of the coalition said that open meeting laws in New York, he feels, are weak compared to a lot of states, and we want to amend the open meeting laws to mandate that the public has to be heard during the meeting, because when the option, 67% of local governments have just waived hearings from the public even before COVID-19. So it's not a pandemic situation. It's been the way of the world. So, once again, we're happy to say that we are doing that and being able to provide that service and letting the people have their voice. So that's a good thing.
Public access and the education and government channels that are like LTV are very few and far between. We're really blessed to have this here. Right. It brings up to me that it seems like these meetings are running the risk of being sued later on, and or the meetings that are running that don't have the public comment, or all sorts of legal wranglings because people didn't get a chance to say anything.
Well, you're absolutely right, because what it equates to is do-over work, right?
Exactly.
They do the things, they pass it, and then all of a sudden there's a lawsuit coming at them, and then they got to go back and do it again because they didn't listen to the public in the first place. And
that could be a real problem along the way.
And we have transcriptions and things like that that are available, that are printed out, and that's a good thing.
LTV, when I was in a couple different places when I was on tour and stuff, I would look at the public access channels, and there was nothing quite like LTV. So, yay, us.
Yeah.
It's not only us, but all the people who did this before us.
Yeah.
I mean, starting in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
No, the town
and all the people who supported.
It's been a good vision and some great support from the local community, that's for sure. So now there's an article in the New York Times that the experts warn of a long struggle ahead, and that the virus may never be going away. Is this true? Help me with this.
Who knows?
So what are they saying?
Who knows? What they're saying is that the virus might just become another endemic virus in our communities, like the flu. Like somebody says they have the flu every year, we end up getting a vaccine for it, we get the flu shot, whatever, that it might just become part of our everyday life.
Right.
It will hopefully, it won't be as dire as this every year, because it was a novel coronavirus and a new coronavirus. We've had other coronaviruses, but this was a brand new one that our bodies didn't have any immunity to. And that's why we had this big problem with it. But Dr. Fauci is saying that, we should not be cavalier. I love that he used that word, in thinking that children are immune to the deleterious effects, because we don't really know what this new coronavirus is going to do.
Right.
So this is another part of the wait and see. This is part of life that nobody likes. We want to know what's going to happen. We want to plan what we're going to do this summer, and we're just not able to do that right now.
Well, it's just interesting how this has all fallen out, right? You look at it, we're basically, and we discussed this, right? We're basically now, unfortunately, we're players, or we're on the sidelines watching the players, right? And the players are, you got, this is oversimplifying it, but you got the economic faction on one side, and you got the scientific faction on another side. Now, at this point in time in the pandemic, the economic folks are saying, okay, we need to do this because of this, and many, many good points are made during that debate. And then the scientific people are saying, well, we can't do that yet because of this, and there's many, many good points of that, and we're sitting in the middle waiting for someone to lead the way, and it's kind of divided that way, and I don't mean to sound like a doomsday. I think it's
interesting because the way you were just saying it, the people who are saying the economic part, they're right.
Yeah.
And the medical doctors are right.
All right. Yeah.
So how do you do this? And it has to be a nuanced approach of something, which I think that the government, both federal and local, are really striving to do.
Right.
But it is so complicated because both sides, if you will, are right.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, well, it's true. And I think if you break it down and coming down even, into a small level, like on a local government, I think, regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, I think they've done a pretty good job of trying to manage that. It's really easy to sit back and be the Monday morning quarterback and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
we could have done this and we could have done that and he should have done this and he should have done that. But, when all is said and done, there's no rule book here. There's no playbook. And I don't know. Maybe I just think that we've done.
I think there should be, and now there will be a playbook, but nobody really thought, even though the experts have been saying this was going to happen, nobody really thought it was. And it's really hard to sell anybody on putting money towards something that might not happen.
Right.
And so now that we know that it very well could happen, maybe we will start to have a playbook for next time.
Right. 9 weeks ago, would you have thought that shutting down the economy was possible?
No. No way.
No, it's just, you can't, it's a no-win situation.
No.
Aren't you glad you joined politics, folks? God, wait a minute. I just wanted to be a congressperson, right? No one said pandemic.
It's tough.
Yeah. So LVIS Cookbook, they got a cookbook out.
LVIS, their cookbook is out. This is their, and I think it's 125 years. Forgive me if I'm wrong. It's either 125 or 150. And they are right now trying to figure out what they're going to be doing this summer with the, because it is a big anniversary this year. So they're going to be figuring out what they're going to do in November and also with the fair. Pretty much nobody really, again, knows, but the cookbook looks fantastic, and you can order it already.
I just think it's funny that we went from the problems in the world to eating.
You know what?
On the show.
That's what we hear about all the time. We're hearing about food and food insecurity, and now we're talking about a cookbook, which the LVIS cookbooks, if you haven't looked at them, especially the older ones, they're amazing. They're really cool.
Yeah,
they're really cool, and you can see these old recipes like for molasses sugar drinks or something, they used to have in the potato fields or whatever. And it's just really cool. I love stuff like that. Okay, so here I want to say right away, I talked with Annette Hinkle last week about the Parish Art Museum. So they're doing they're opening. And so people should check that out. That is, you can go to parishart.org.
Right.
What the museums and the theaters are doing around here is unbelievable. Guildhall.org, just go to it and look at all of the available streaming events. It is really fantastic.
They're having a play reading, right, coming up?
They're having a play reading on Saturday night that is directed by Harris Yulin. He's going to be in it with Mercedes Rule. It's something he arranged about Tennessee Williams and his writing.
Great.
So, and it's really easy. You go to the website, you buy a ticket, you watch it at the same time. It is incredible what they are doing. Hats off to all of them.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out Guildhall right now. And the parish, I talked about with Annette last week, and that's tomorrow night at 5.
That's great. So we got we have some interviews coming up. We got Angela's interviewing Adam Fine, who's the East Hampton High School principal, soon to be assistant supervisor.
Superintendent.
That's
Super
the second
something.
time in that.
Super something.
He's super. And so that's today. And tomorrow, it's Fridays with the supervisor.
The supervisor there.
Yes, our weekly meeting with Peter Von Squayak. So please join us for that. And
tomorrow's the big day, the 15th. We've been waiting for this day. Now it's not the big day.
Right. It is a big day, however, it's the first day of testing locally.
And it's also a big day if you're a gardener or a landscaper, you play tennis.
That's true. That is true. And so, real quickly, a thank you to our sponsor for Facts of Five, Sound Aircraft Services. And please, folks, don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch all the past shows. There's some great stuff on there, even things that haven't aired on LTV. Or you can simply click on our website at ltbeh.org. Anything else, Morgan?
Nope.
All right. Well, you have yourself a wonderful evening, and stay tuned for the interview with Angela. Adam Fine. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Well, June is just around the corner, and you know what that means. Graduation, or does it? Talking today with us about East Hampton High School, the principal of the school is going to tell us what's going on there. We're very happy that he's here. Adam Fine, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, we're doing okay. We know there's a lot to talk about. Talk about your school. First of all, I know you're getting a different title soon. You're going to go from principal to assistant superintendent of the district, and then you will be the next, starting next year. Congratulations.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about East Hampton High School. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, you've been there at least 10 years, right?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Tell us about your school. How many kids are graduating? What is the general mood? How's everybody doing since this whole pandemic, especially?
So we have about 920 kids, 9 through 12. About 221, 22 are going to graduate. I mean, the general mood, I think in the beginning was disbelief a little bit from the kids and the staff that this was happening. And, but I think there still existed hope. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. I think the kids are missing school. The teachers are missing their kids. The distance learning model, our staff has done the best they can to continue the education of all these kids. It's definitely been a struggle because when you're trained to be an educator, you're trained to do it in a classroom in front of kids, and that social interaction, you underestimate its value.
How much are the teachers able to be in touch with the students? I mean, I know I have a daughter, I'm 6 years old, and I'm in a different school district, and I know what that's like, just trying to get them to focus and sit in front of the computer without playing with her toys or wanting to run around on her scooter in a tiny apartment. But tell me what that's like for the kids and for the teachers, and your team's response when this all happened.
Yeah. I mean, we had a little planning time. The Board of Education and Superintendent really were creative in the way they allowed us to do our initial reach out to our kids. It's a combination at different levels. From the secondary level, it's combination of a Google Classroom, Google Meets, Zoom Meets. There's a little more structure that exists in the elementary school. There's they have video morning meetings and things going on there for the little kids. I too have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and I see the struggles there, and that is a huge challenge. The bottom line is our board from the beginning really put the emphasis on the social emotional well-being of kids, and to kind of do our best for not over pressuring the kids academically, which has definitely been a struggle. We're not perfect. Teachers teach, that's what they do, but we try to be there for the kids and act as a resource for these kids in these tough times.
Yeah, talk about, obviously Governor Cuomo's come out with different thoughts about moving forward with remote learning. And what do you make of a lot of that? What is it going to look like this summer? Do you do summer school there? And also, what are you thinking in terms of the fall as far as the school? Curious.
So for the summer school, we're preparing now. So it's really a three options. So it's a traditional summer school with social distancing, or it's a remote distance learning model, or the governor says you're not doing anything, which could conceivably happen. We're planning, as we always do, on both levels. So we're planning for a standard, typical summer school model at the high school, and also planning for a remote distance learning credit recovery model. The fall, obviously, that's the big question. Am I forever an optimist? We are planning, or now kind of going ahead in my new position, we're planning on 3 levels. So either we're going back with social distancing guidelines in place in the building. We are either going to do a alternate day, alternate week blended approach with distance learning, or the third and final approach is we are going to go full distance learning again. So we're planning on those three levels right now. The principals and our directors of instructional technology, the board, the superintendent. So there's a lot, and the sooner we know, the better. But I didn't go to medical school, so it's very hard to predict.
Do you anticipate when you might have more information from the Board of Ed and how that's going to work, or is it who informs that? I mean, how does that work?
That'll be the governor. That'll be the governor and the
Yeah.
state Department of Education. You know, in my head, I'm hoping by August 1. If I know by August 1 and we spent the summer doing what we needed to do, planning and preparing, we should be fine. I just, don't want to know, a week before school starts that, you're not coming back physically or you have to use this model.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about graduation. I mean, I know when I was a senior, that was it. I mean, I get they're probably not doing a prom, right? That's off the table, unless. but in terms of graduation, from what I hear, there is going to be some kind of graduation, not just a virtual one. Explain how that is going to work.
Yeah, so I've resisted the virtual graduation. The seniors have just, the amount of years they've put in at the high school, plus their own schools, their sending districts. I just think what way could we make it a live event? So we kind of worked together with the East Hampton Town Police Department, Chief Sarlo, on what would be allowable, what would be permitted. I had some board members involved, the superintendent. One of the big assets of the high school is its parking lot. It's also the bane of my existence during the year. It's not exactly organized. But it really creates the ability to use cars in long lines in the lot, almost like a drive-in movie theater. If you want to, you could picture the Orient Point Ferry waiting on the lines there and using those lines. We were able to craft something and use the lot. We have a stage that's going to be set up towards the corner near the football field. We're going to allow students 3 cars at a time. Kids are going to get to go on the stage alone, get their diploma, take a picture with a professional photographer. LTV is going to live stream the event on YouTube Live, so which is awesome.
Yeah. And as far as the cars, how does that work? Is a student and their family in one car? What are they allowed?
That's what right now they're going to be allowed 1 car per family. I'm going to line them up in the parking lot according to their sending district. So we'll have Montauk cars lined together, Springs, Amagansett, and then East Hampton. Reason being for that, first of all, it's easier to organize the parking lot. We can't do it alphabetical, obviously. But what we're going to do is the goal is to get those schools through, and we've been working with their local fire departments that will meet them at the high school, hopefully, fingers crossed, and lead them on a parade back to their home and through their home community to honor them and give them the due respect they deserve.
And is there a limit on the size of the car? I mean, obviously, this is not the day to have a zip car, but maybe a minivan, does that work or does it matter?
Well, it is funny. I just got the emails about limousines yesterday. So we're right now we're trying to resist that. I'm going in tomorrow morning actually to measure out the parking lot and to measure specific car size and kind of predict. The other piece, which I didn't anticipate, a big challenge is parents who are separated from one another in either a separated situation or a divorce situation. So that is
how does that work? That's 2 cars. That's 2 cars. Trust me, it's 2 cars.
Yes, if you could tolerate the person.
Not even like a taxi, not even with the divide. Just get a separate car. I got to tell you.
Perfect. But we have an idea for that thanks to my Sergeant Kenny Alversa of the East Hampton Town Police had an idea. We actually have another area that we could actually put the cars in, the secondary cars. So I think everybody will be happy, hopefully.
That sounds good. Are there going to be speeches? Will there be a graduation speech? How will that work?
Yeah, we're going all live. Everything's live. I piped the parking lot with additional speakers. And in the lot, we'll also have an additional 15-foot by 15-foot LED screen midway through the lot so people can actually see what's going on. These speeches will be, so normally the class presidents do the welcome. Then I speak, and the salutatory and valedictorian and student association speak. All of those speeches will be live. They will be live. We'll go up one at a time on the stage, which, to be honest with you, is exactly what we always do. So I introduce the person, They go up.
That's great.
They read the speech. They leave. I come back on, introduce the next person. So
I just got chills. Isn't that weird? I just got chills about that idea. I love it. That's really cool. And instead of throwing their caps, do they just throw their masks up in the air? How does that work at the end? I don't know. No, there's something like.
I don't even know. I mean, we also set up our property is big enough that towards the back of our bus loop, we set up an additional staging area with a tent that families will be able to take pictures on graduation backdrops far away from the other stage, so it doesn't clog things up, and that will be kind of moderated by our chaperones to make sure it's one family at a time. Take a few pictures next, but it won't clog everything up. We're big enough that cars can, if you don't want to do it, you can actually just get out of the lot if you really want it.
That's great. How was this graduating class? Did they do well? Are they all going to some good schools? And are you proud of them? I'm sure you're proud of them.
It's an outstanding group, and which makes it all the more heart-wrenching, heartbreaking that they've had to go through this. But, with that said, what better group to go through this, because they are such a good, solid group. They are resilient. Colleges, we have, Yale, University of Virginia, Williams, our SUNY school, NYU. So it's a nice mixed bag, and again, I'm hearing a little bit from our guidance department that some kids are, and I don't have the numbers yet, but looking at maybe using next year as a gap year, maybe take a class topic, because they don't want to commit to go into a distance learning model at a university for another year.
Right.
So, kind of be smart.
Well, if they can get through this, get through this, they really will be the leaders of tomorrow. That's for sure. Quickly, before we have to go, you've been there over 10 years. Tell me some of the things that you're most proud of or pleased with, and also talk about some of the challenges that you see ahead for the district out in East Hampton.
I'm definitely proud of the kind of our staff's response and the kids' response to this. But long-term things, we put an AP seminar capstone program in the school. We've kind of changed and I guess rewritten the guide of what mental health and social emotional development looks within a high school on Long Island, and I think we're the forerunners anywhere on that. I'm very proud to work with my Ralph Neglieri, school psychologist, Tim Fromm, assistant principal, Karen Cunith, assistant principal, who've made that possible. We've been able to offer various more academic choices for kids. We've and again we also have that mental health piece, which is really important.
And more than ever important, right?
Yes,
Dealing mentally now more than ever.
Yep, and this is the challenge. The challenges will be, going forward in this type of environment and existing and being able to, operate seamlessly between the two worlds. If this is what it's going to be for the foreseeable future, I think that's going to be a challenge.
No. Well, Adam Fine, you've been doing a great job. Your team has been amazing. We congratulate and applaud all of the students there in the graduating class. June 26th, Friday, June 26th. That's the date.
26th. Yep.
You'll be able to watch it on LTV on our YouTube channel, Local Television Inc. East Hampton. And we thank you again and wish you the best, and especially in your new job. You'll be our new superintendent, district superintendent. So that's awesome. Thank you again. Adam Fine, East Hampton High School.